achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Welcome everybody to Live or Live. Living is Good. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. So happy to have you along this Monday evening, June 11th, 2018. We've been doing this for a bunch of years. And every Monday night, it's more exciting than the previous Monday because we build upon the things that we know and the experiences that we're having, not only in our own physical bodies, our minds, and our spirits, but also the collective of our entire customer population, which is rather significant and located all around the globe. And what we know is we are winning people. We are winning. And we are winning because of our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, who is with us this evening to speak with us, to us, for us, through us for the next 2 hours and to talk about her approach to wellness. And she differs in her approach to wellness from every single or most people you know. I was talking to a customer about this morning who was sharing with their experience of working with a MD and a naturopath and how different Dr. Dean is. And Dr. Dean's protocol, her advice, her wisdom is all geared to creating a simple, sustainable wellness protocol to alleviate the rampant nutritional deficiencies that are making people sick. And I'm telling you, we've got sick people on this planet in the United States. They're in Canada. They're all over Europe. They're all in Australia. They're in New Zealand. They're in China. We've got sick people all over the planet because we have food issues and we have environmental challenges. And Dr. Dean has geared her whole wisdom to solving both with minerals and nutrients that can be readily absorbed and with the most spectacular RNA drops, which are the hidden factor in so many people's recovery. So we're so pleased to have her with us this evening. Let me just remind you that even though Dr. Dean is in fact a medical doctor and a darn good one, and she's a naturopath and a darn good one. And she's good at, you know what, this lady is good at everything she does. And I've witnessed it firsthand. She is good at everything she does. But she's very good at what she does. But she also doesn't give medical advice on her radio show. But what she will do is she will tell you what she would do if she were you. And she will definitely do what she tells you to do. So welcome this evening, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you, children. I appreciate how much you appreciate me. Wonderful to be back. Last week we had Roby Mitchell on, and that was a great show, but we didn't even get through our mailbag. We have lots to talk about today, so we'll dive right in with Ginny's blog. We call Ginny's blog the one that she sends out to our tens and tens of thousands of RNA customers, actually. And they get the newsletter on the Monday morning so that they can be reminded to listen to this show. So Ginny's blog is about anxiety, magnesium-deficient anxiety, and we've had a webinar on it. We have a booklet, Magnesium-Deficient Anxiety. We're not treating anxiety. We're having people take magnesium and the other minerals as necessary to treat the magnesium deficiency that they have that can lead to symptoms that look, feel, sound like anxiety, but their magnesium deficiency. And it is very frustrating for people who have really bad anxiety. They have panic attacks. They go to the doctor's office. And usually doctors just say, well, you're just having a panic attack. There's nothing we can do about it except give you medications. And people think that not a worry factor or fear factor. They can't even figure what's going on that could make them feel so panicky and fearful. And we're saying that since magnesium deficiency can trigger the adrenal glands to erratically shoot out adrenaline and make you feel like you have to run away or fight or flight, then the anxiety comes from as Ginny says in this blog, a chemical imbalance. So anxiety can cause symptoms that lead to more anxiety, which is why panic attacks and anxiety are so hard to stop. You can find this blog at drcarolyndeanlive.com. An anxiety attack is an abrupt chemical imbalance in the body that produces intense fear or discomfort. And as I said, it's usually caused by surges of adrenaline related to magnesium deficiency. And since doctors don't test for magnesium deficiency, they're not aware of this. While an anxiety attack can reach its peak within a few minutes, it's a combination of threatening symptoms and chemical afterburn can leave a person reeling for hours or even days. So just think of how every once in a while you'll jump at some loud noise, or someone will scare you or come up and touch you, and you'll just jump off the ground, and you'll get this frisson, this tingling through your body as the adrenaline goes from head to foot or from foot to head. Well, people with anxiety, that's kind of what they're experiencing for, as Ginny says, several minutes at a time. And so startling that you just can't imagine it's a simple magnesium deficiency. And the symptoms, look at them. The symptoms of anxiety or panic attacks: palpitations, pounding heart, accelerated heart rate. And these are magnesium deficiency symptoms. Sweating, trembling or shaking. Movement problems are very common in anxiety. Anxiety and stress cause many different changes in the body. One of the symptoms is called a tremor. Tremor technically refers to any type of shaking or involuntary rhythmic muscle movement. And we've got a question about tremor that I'll get to in a moment. Sensations of shortness of breath or smothering, dry mouth, feelings of choking, that's globus hystericus, the feeling of a lump in the throat. And that, in some cases, prevents people from swallowing. They get things stuck in their throat or feel like they can't swallow and they feel they're choking. People have taken just a swallow of magnesium in the midst of that, and it's alleviated that symptom. There's also chest pain or discomfort, nausea, abdominal stress, feelings of dizziness, unsteadiness, lightheadedness, faintness, chills or heat sensations, paresthesias, numbness or tingling sensations, derealization or depersonalization. It's a feeling of being detached from oneself, fear of losing control or going crazy, and fear of dying. That's a lot of symptoms. And even when you're at a doctor's appointment and you try to list some of these, your doctor is just going to say, oh, yeah, well, you have a panic attack. Take the Ativan. And I don't know what they say after that, but just take the Ativan. And when you look at these anti-anxiety drugs, the labeling usually says for short-term use only. And then when people end up on these benzodiazepines for years and years, they do find it very difficult to get off. The blog continues, since many of the symptoms of panic disorder mimic those of heart disease, thyroid problems, breathing disorders, and other illnesses, people with panic disorders often make many visits to emergency rooms or doctor's offices convinced they have a life-threatening issue. Others are afraid or embarrassed to tell anyone, including their doctors or loved ones, about what they are experiencing for fear of being seen as a hypochondriac. Unfortunately, we are a nation suffering a 32% increase of anxiety, depression, and drug problems. Instead of treating anxiety disorders and stress reactions properly with magnesium and proper nutrition, each year millions of people are introduced to the merry-go-round of psychiatric drugs and psychological counseling for symptoms that may in fact be rooted in magnesium deficiency. So I pretty much read the whole blog because it is very important. And what I did on my blog, drcarolyndean.com, was put out a blog just yesterday called Illness Anxiety Disorder. Ginny and I never talk about what she's going to write for the blog, but we're always sharing a brain. And what this illness anxiety disorder is, it's hypochondriasis. They're actually relabeling hypochondriasis as illness anxiety disorder. And I just think it's horrifying because, as I say in the blog, this fancy new name effectively mislabels anxiety, panic disorder sufferers as hypochondriacs. So I don't know why they're doing it. I think it's just crazy. It also distances anxiety from magnesium deficiency. It's like it gives doctors a free pass to call people who are anxious hypochondriacs. You can read the blog. I talk about the mineral magnesium deficiencies and yeast overgrowth as what I'm focused on treating, and even the yeast toxins will cause some level or can cause some level of anxiety. And what I say about treating any sort of anxiety is that you have to look at underlying nutrient deficiencies, yeast overgrowth, take magnesium, the B vitamins that we have in Realign, drink more sea salted water, treating yeast overgrowth, and you start feeling better. And once you start feeling better, and it lets you know that you are more in control of your health than your doctor, and that you have a say in what makes you feel better. I am just going to mention this question. Someone asked about essential tremor. Could you please provide any information on your show about the possibility of any of your projects alleviating my essential tremor? Any information you provide will be greatly appreciated. Now, that's really not enough information for me to know if it's a magnesium deficiency or a mineral deficiency. But what we do know about tremors in general is they're related to the nervous system, the muscular system. If you don't have enough magnesium, those systems can be weakened or irritated or irritable. And the way I would begin with treating essential tremor is to start with the REMAG, according to the labeling or according to the handout that we give people. Because when we tell people to take minerals, we always say, be sure to drink enough water, be sure to take your sea salt. I did have a blog question today where someone, not a blog question, a mailbag question where someone said, well, I took magnesium, not our magnesium, but then I got dehydrated and I had to stop it. And if a person would take our REMAG and follow our instructions, we absolutely tell people, take your body weight in pounds, divide it in half, put a quarter and take that amount of water in ounces a day, and in every quarter liter of water you drink, put a quarter teaspoon of sea salt. So that's the way you start enhancing your minerals in your body. I'm going to stop now to see what I've left out and go to Ginny and see what she has to say.
Well, I wanted to just ask you really quick. So many people have asked me over the last handful of days about suicidal thoughts. And what do you think about those? Where do you think those are coming from? Is it a different side of the same coin? What's your thought on that?
Right. I guess my personal experience with that is when I started to have really bad hot flashes in my menopausal days. I was in New York. The doctor I was working with on the mirror technique had died, and I had to take over and work with his partner, who was impossible. I started getting stressed out adrenals, and I had an early menopause, so I had really bad hot flashes. About 3 seconds before hot flash, I would get what I called a feeling of impending doom. And then I'd get the hot flash, and it would be gone. And it really made me understand how people can have these chemical flashes of just horror. I mean, you just think horrible things. And I guess with the suicidal thoughts, I never had any, but there's just too much news of suicide in the media right now. So when people have a really bad feeling, they just, they might just think, well, why even bother? Why don't I just end it? So it's partly the media brainwashing people into thinking about suicide, having it in their mind, and the just surges of either adrenaline from magnesium deficiency or surges of different hormones in the body that can set you up to feel anxious or depressed. So that's what I think.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I had, my own little experience with panic attacks, and you authentically think that the ground is going to swallow you up and you're going to die any minute. So I can imagine that if those thoughts or that experience, that imbalance got translated to suicide, it would be the same way. It would just be almost like the logical conclusion would just be kill yourself type of a thing. I mean, it sounds extreme and it's hard to understand if you're not experiencing it, but then a panic attack is impossible to understand unless you've had one.
Yeah, exactly.
What about Prozac and all that stuff, Carol?
Oh, yeah, good point. I don't know. Perhaps some of our customers are calling in who are on medication, but yes, certainly Prozac, Ambien. Roseanne, she said it was Ambien that made her mouth go crazy and say terrible things. And when you look up Ambien forums, you'll hear people talk about having hallucinations and morbid thoughts when they're on Ambien. So you can probably look up any drug and look at side effects of Prozac, and you'll come across suicidal ideation. And yeah, Bob's heard me talk many times about the SSRIs like Prozac. When a depressed person takes these drugs, then their apathy can change and shift and turn to action, where they can act on or will act on suicidal or homicidal thoughts. And as we know, I think so far every one of the high school shooters has been on some sort of chemical prescription drug.
Yeah. And what's Ambien, Carolyn? Is that a sleeping pill?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sleeping medication. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Nope, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, so what we have next is some blog questions before we go to the phones and whatnot. Someone writes in, I'm going through menopause and have definitely found that I'm deficient in magnesium. I started taking the Reset program and do feel better. However, I still tend to have bouts of anxiety. Advice, question mark? Well, it's a matter of the timing. I don't know how long this person has been on the protocols. These are not drugs. These are nutrients, the minerals, the B vitamins and Realign. They're helping to saturate your body with the right nutrients, so that can take some time. And the bouts of anxiety, I mean, what a lot of people will tell us, even within the first few weeks and certainly the first month or so, they feel less. But any anxiety is horrific to most people. So, and that may be the last thing to go. So it's just a matter of being patient and looking at the windows of non-anxiety times, or the windows of better sleep and less cramps, less heart palpitations, the things that are definitely caused by magnesium deficiency. So just be patient. Actually, here's a very interesting testimonial from a mom. She says, my daughter has cystic fibrosis. I have copies of her recent blood test. She's in the green, which means they're all normal, and has stayed in the green since she began taking the RNA Reset products. She has been on them for almost a year now. It's so sad to hear and see people with cystic fibrosis dying as children and teenagers who they experience pain and go through surgeries just to die sooner. They take endless drugs that only treat some symptoms or just don't work. It's quite a miracle that my child with cystic fibrosis won't suffer like that because she's managing and remineralizing her cellular structure. I wish everyone with terminally ill children wouldn't have to go through all those unnecessary extremes. Knowing what I know now, it seems insane that people blindly allow the medical industry to devastate their whole world when the answer is simple, remineralization. I'm forever grateful and thankful. I don't have to allow and won't allow anyone to poison my child again because I am informed and have seen true health at a cellular level. So that's amazing. I mean, I remember when we had that mom take the information about cystic fibrosis because it's an electrolyte imbalance. These folks burn through their sodium. They've got so much salt wasting that you can lick their skin. It's just completely salty. But it's not only sodium they're losing. They're also losing magnesium and potassium. I mean, you all know from the taste of Remag that it's kind of salty. Well, these kids are losing magnesium, and when you give it back to them, it really helps. Cystic fibrosis, these kids will be just bound up with spasms and contractures even with the spasms they get, which may be from magnesium deficiency. The other blog that I recently did since last week is Who's Making Your Supplements? Now, it seems to me I've spoken about this blog before, but maybe it was on Bob's show. But what I said about Who's Making Your Supplements is a customer said that an acquaintance of hers warned her that she shouldn't listen to me because I was selling products. And so I immediately thought, well, who else are you going to listen to? And the other important question is, who else is going to make safe and effective products to help people get well from chronic disease? It can only be concerned doctors who work directly with their patients and customers and know what they require. It's not going to be the FDA. It's not going to be drug companies, not the government, and not dietary supplement companies who are being increasingly overrun with dropouts from the medical pharmaceutical complex. They all just keep treating disease symptoms with drugs or supplements. Also, there's the many self-styled health gurus and natural practitioners who scare people into using tons of ineffective dietary supplements. And how I kind of get this insight because I was reading a book on Lyme disease. The author interviewed 10 Lyme practitioners. They all use supplements, and many of them formulate their own products. So I just thought it was really important to kind of define, why am I, quote, selling supplements? And it's like, who better to do it than someone who's had the 50 years of experience that I have in reading about natural health and then going to med school and then doing my naturopathic training and being in practice all those years and doing all the alternatives and then coming up with just the right handful of things to support the body taking care of itself. Because seriously, humans are too stupid to take over what the body does naturally. And we really do have to just provide the building blocks. And, of course, the minerals we use are 100% absorbed, and the B vitamins are methylated or food-based. So we're really focused on the body taking care of itself. And one of the things I finished the blog with was about the treatment for Lyme. All these doctors use magnesium. And most of them do say how important magnesium is, but they're using the wrong forms because they all get laxative, and therefore they're not using enough magnesium. And they go on to ever more expensive nutrients in order to solve what I think are a lot of magnesium deficiency symptoms. So I really think REMAG is important in the Lyme picture. And you probably heard or read articles where people are saying, well, these organisms use magnesium, so maybe we shouldn't give people magnesium. And that's really kind of crazy to think that way. All organisms use all nutrients, but the organisms don't survive in a human body with an immune system that's working properly. So what we're trying to do is support the immune system. When I did the AIDS work in New York in 1993 and, for several years, everybody we tested with AIDS or chronic fatigue, we were also working with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, everybody tested positive for everything we tested them for in terms of bacterial, viral, and parasitic infections. So that's why I say to people, I don't know if you need to do a lot of testing. I mean, even if it is like a man-made virus or there's all kinds of talk about different forms of viruses that people can pick up from all over the place. I mean, they tried to say AIDS was a monkey virus, for Pete's sakes. So no matter what you're being, quote, attacked by or with, you really just step back a bit instead of attacking back, instead of taking more antibiotics and more antivirals. Let's just build up the immune system. Now, I'm not saying people with Lyme disease should not take their antibiotics. If you have a blood test, a clear picture of Lyme, then you're probably going to have to take the antibiotics, but you have to also take the probiotics. But I am convinced that of the tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of people who are doing our protocol, I'm sure a certain percentage of them have some form of Lyme or strange viruses, and they still get better. So you don't have to really get into the minutia and drill down to find out what your genes are doing or what all your infections are. I mean, think about it. We have 10 trillion organisms in our body. They talk about the organisms, the anaerobic bacteria, the anaerobic and aerobic bacteria, the parasites, the yeast, all those add up to the tens of trillions, more than our own body cells. So how on earth do you think we're going to analyze what all is in our body? And as I always say, maybe this machine testing that people do where you get the top 100 things that are wrong with you, maybe that's what they're trying to do, define all your levels of infections. But I still say step back, do the yeast detox, remineralize your body, take your Realign, take your RNA drops, and then after a certain period of time, 6, 9, 12 months, if there are things left over and you haven't gotten in touch with us already, then maybe that's the time to do the $1 million workup. But it's certainly not at the outset of you deciding that you want to do some sort of alternative. So that's my rant for today, Ginny. Any comments?
Very good, very comprehensive. I'm glad you said what you said. It was excellent, excellent.
Right. Okay, great. Ashley, okay, I can stop here and then we can resume with the mailbag. Do you want to go to the chat or phone lines?
Sure, let's see who's tippy typing in. 602-666-6027 is the number to call in if you'd like to talk to Dr. Dean this evening. Again, that's 602-666-6027. And when you call into the station, you've got to, after you get on the line, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. *5 raises your hand and lets me know you have a question or comment, and then we can put you on the phone with Dr. Dean. So let's see if we've got callers that are on the line that just need to get positioned by raising their hand, *5, and we can put you on the phone with Dr. Dean. The other thing is you can type us in on the chat line at achieveradio.com. And Janessa has typed in this question. Carolyn, I have read a number of times that one needs to take the same amount of calcium as magnesium. I take 900 milligrams of magnesium and rely mostly on my diet for calcium. Thoughts? Thank you, Janessa.
Right. Well, yes, I mean, you're more up to date than most people because people used to say it was twice the amount of calcium as magnesium, and that's what got our whole country calcified. So it is kind of a one-to-one, but even so, when I was taking my 1,200 milligrams of Remag magnesium, I didn't take any calcium for, maybe 2 years. And I wasn't eating dairy at the time. And then when my knees started to ache a bit, I figured, well, I better take some calcium. So that's when I started working on Recalcia. I do think 600 milligrams of calcium is what a person needs if you have a lot of magnesium deficiency symptoms, if you kind of waste magnesium, you're under a lot of stress and on medications, heaven forbid, and all that, then maybe you need twice as much magnesium as calcium, or like you're doing, 900 to 600. So again, we are requesting that people take charge of their own bodies, see how they feel, you read the information that I put out, and then see if it makes sense, and then adjust. And your guide is how you feel. And I know I've often said with my magnesium deficiency symptoms, it's kind of easy for me to pinpoint because I'll start getting heart palpitations. And other people, it may not be so easy. Also, it is difficult because the blood tests really aren't as accurate as we'd like. Hopefully, we'll get some more ionized magnesium tests going in the future so that people can equate their symptoms or lack of symptoms with their ionized magnesium blood test. So, enough of that. I could keep going on, but I will stop.
Well, let me ask you this. What are the signs of a calcium deficiency? What is your, let's say you were taking 900 magnesium, and you're taking a lot of magnesium. How do you know if you do need calcium? What do you feel like? Do you know?
Well, my symptoms were achy knees, kind of painful knees. Yeah. Some people, it's they've been taking their magnesium for a while, and then they start feeling some what they think is magnesium deficiency symptoms. And we do this on customer service all the time. If you've been on your magnesium for months and you've been feeling good and all of a sudden you have symptoms and we find out you're not drinking your sea salted water, you're not taking your Remite, and then you start taking those and you feel some better and it's still not enough, then we'll jump on to calcium and get you on potassium broth. It's got to be a balance of the minerals. And when you look at calcium deficiency symptoms, I mean, they do kind of sound like magnesium deficiency sometimes, and that's where you get people who will be told to take calcium for leg cramps. I mean, I was with friends yesterday. We did a sailboat ride, which was awesome, and then we stopped for lunch, and somebody's father started to ask me about leg cramps and showed me a standard process product he was given by his chiropractor called Mintran. And we looked it up. We searched it on a cell phone, and it has calcium, 120 milligrams of calcium compared with 19 milligrams of magnesium. So there's this thought that calcium is needed for cramps. How are we going to educate people over that? Now, it's interesting with this gentleman I was talking to. One thing led to another until he finally gave his story about being on 12 medications.
Oh my gosh! Right?
You might as well just take a gun to your head right this minute.
Wow.
Yes. And when I gave out my scenario of, folks will go to the doctor and they'll be stressed and their blood pressure will be a bit elevated. They'll be put on a diuretic, and then that doesn't work because it's draining out more magnesium, and then they'll be put on a calcium channel blocker and an ACE inhibitor. And the whole story, he was nodding his head, yeah. So then a few months later, you go back, you're on these 3 drugs for your so-called high blood pressure, and all of a sudden your cholesterol is elevated and your blood sugar is elevated. Yeah, that's right. That's happened to him. So then he was put on drugs for diabetes and the cholesterol. And then all those drugs are going to drain out your magnesium. And there was even this injectable drug that he was given. And he said it made him feel just like a bag of dirt. And it was also $800 a month above his insurance. So what I'm wondering, I mean, I know doctors aren't supposed to get kickbacks from drug companies, but what is motivating doctors to give people $800 a month drugs, 12 medications? It just doesn't make any sense, since the patient keeps coming back and still has his leg cramps, has to find a chiropractor to help him who puts him on calcium instead of magnesium. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, that's 12 medications.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable.
Mm.
Hey, Carolyn, but the guy is smart. He said he's going to order your products after you told him all this.
Yes, yes. He's one of the smart ones, and the same day, Sunday morning, when I was doing my golf course walk, and I came across the assistant groundskeeper, and he started telling me his tales of woe, and I mean, that's just, oh yeah, I'm on that one too. Oh yeah, I take that, and it's like, oh my gosh. So I was able to give him one of my Magnesium miracle books. I said, you read this, and you just, stop doing it. No, I can't tell people to stop their drugs. No. You read this, and you find out if it makes sense that you have magnesium deficiency and you happen to be taking drugs for a magnesium deficiency problem. But at the same time, there was someone visiting in the neighborhood, and she knew my work, and she was here for a week, and she has Lyme disease and all kinds of symptoms, and she didn't ask me anything. She was on her protocols and didn't want to know anything else, because I think probably because it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming when people try to sort things out themselves, and they just get on their system, and Lyme does keep coming up in my world, so I'm updating my one of my books. Which book? I forget. And putting information in, a little more information about Lyme, but
weight loss.
The weight loss book, yeah. Well, why would I be?
No, the Realign book, Carolyn.
Oh, in Realign, yeah.
But you were working on weight loss yesterday.
That's right, yeah. I have to update these books every week because there's so much exciting stuff out there. But with Lyme, I am convinced that we are treating mild cases of Lyme, undiagnosed cases of Lyme with our protocols, and people are improving. So it's just, I think, very difficult when people get a diagnosis of an incurable disease.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
that hits them, right in the brain, and what are they going to do? It's like being hit with your genetic disease, to be told that you have something that no one has a cure for. And we're certainly not anywhere talking about curing any disease. We're just saying, well, what if the Lyme has taken up your magnesium, and you're so deficient that you're having all kinds of symptoms that are being misdiagnosed as Lyme symptoms? Let's just saturate you with the minerals and take the Realign, etc., and see how much better you do. I mean, it's common sense.
Hey, Carolyn, what is the effect of heroin addiction on magnesium levels?
Oh gosh, I mean they're so deficient in all the nutrients. They've got nothing going for them.
Yeah, because this Bourdain guy, the famous chef, he was once a heroin addict, I think I saw.
Oh, I see.
And if that's not treated, you're going to have these deficiencies. No matter what you do or how happy or wealthy you become. There's an underlying depression or source of a problem that caused the heroin addiction.
Right, and someone who I have no idea. I've never tried any of that stuff, but I would imagine when someone has used heroin or cocaine, they get such a high that when they're not on it, they feel depressed. It's like it creates a mania. So you're creating this manic depression in your person because of the drug. And the reason why people go for drugs like that to get some sort of high is because I think they start out being nutrient deficient. I mean, I've never needed to be higher than I am on the nutrients I take. So it is really true that people who get into this addictive behavior are missing nutrients, and this is what we try to tell people: is saturate yourself with nutrients, and you won't crave cigarettes or alcohol or sugar or other drugs.
If you have a deficiency, I bet you it makes you vulnerable to internet usage and TV watching, you fill in this gap, because I got 5 different people wrote me and said, boy, this Anthony Bourdain's death, I really took it hard. It's really affected me. I mean, that's nuts. They're responding to an image on TV, but they must have some kind of deficiency, not just an emotional inadequacy or something that is a concomitant of this. Maybe you're seeing rampant magnesium deficiency, and that's why everybody's on their Black Mirror all the time.
Trying to fill in the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Ginny mentioned about people talking on the customer service about suicide, I just typed in Google A-N-T to type in Anthony Bourdain. It came up right away, A-N-T, and then Anthony Bourdain is the first thing that comes up. So everybody in the world is Googling him and finding out, and oh my gosh, it's horrible.
And there are crazy columnists by people saying, he was a warrior. He showed us that we must know about suicide. We must talk about it. He set the world up by becoming famous and saying it didn't work. He still was suicidal. The psychology people have, they're pretty good at that stuff, but they don't know about the mineral aspects of it.
Right. Okay, Bob, thank you. Moving on.
Okay, Carolyn, let's take some phone calls. Let's go out to area code 678, the great state of Georgia. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean, area code 678. If you could give us your name and then state your question and comment.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, Dr. Dean. My name is Mike. I spoke with you guys a couple of months ago, but needless to say, all my symptoms started a couple of years ago, and after wasting a lot of money and time seeing doctors, I was prescribed everything from acid blockers for my acid reflux to prednisone for my sinus issues, which of course I found out after reading your website that actually depleted my magnesium. So a couple of months ago I had the magnesium red blood cell test, and it was slightly low at 3.4, I believe. So I started taking supplements, and I started feeling better after a couple of weeks. But it seems in the past week or so, I guess the edge has come off, so to speak. I haven't had any panic attacks since I started, the magnesium. I've been taking the natural calm. But like I say, the past couple of weeks, I've noticed, a little decrease in my energy. I'm starting to crave the sugars again and the simple carbs. And a little of the digestive issues are coming back also.
Sure. Tell me, Mike, when did you start the magnesium?
It was around the middle of April of this year.
Okay, so we got April to middle May, so it's less than 2 months.
Yes.
Now, one thing, let me just dive in here. If that was a true magnesium RBC test, 3.4 is really low, Mike. It's low. I mean, they may put it on the chart and say, well, you're in the range, you're in the normal range, but it's the normal range for all the sick population, 80% of whom are magnesium deficient. So you're way low. And what that means is you need a lot of magnesium. And I do recommend Natural Calm to people, but for people who really want to get saturated with magnesium, if you took that amount of Natural Calm, you would be in the toilet all day because of the laxative effect. So that's the problem. You can't get enough. I learned that myself because with my heart palpitations, even taking 1/2 a teaspoon of Natural Calm, I would get the laxative effect. And so what I'm saying here is that your body started to get some magnesium with the Natural Calm. It built up. You started feeling better. But it needs more. It's like over time, in the first few months, you have to increase your magnesium, And then, you know, about a year on, you can decrease it. It's not like you'll have to always increase magnesium. You'll get saturated, then you won't need as much. Now, you could play with it with the natural calm and see about increasing that, you know, maybe doubling it. What you do there is you mix the powder in your water, and then you sip it through the day so that you don't hit yourself with, you know, big doses of it. And then see how you feel. Things should start perking up because, you know, Mike, you're trying to encourage 700, 800 different enzyme systems in the body to work better, to work, you know, optimally. And what you've got maybe is only 300 of them feeling good. You want to get the others going too. And to do that, you need more magnesium. But you also, I mean, you can go and look at some of the booklets I've written. You know, you also, we like people to be on the sea salt and drink enough water and then go on a multiple mineral. You can't just look at magnesium as being the drug that's going to cure everything. You got to look at the whole picture. And the fact that you've been on a lot of antibiotics for your sinuses and the prednisone, then that means you probably have yeast overgrowth, and you have to look at going on a yeast, you know, a yeast protocol. I have a book, a free book on that at drcarolyndeanlive.com. So you've got more work to do, Mike. That's all.
Okay, and I did read a little bit about the yeast connection, you know, mainly cutting out sugar and dairy, but I've been really trying, but I literally I wake up in the morning and I'm shaky or I just feel unwell until I get something sweet in my body, and then it goes away. Right.
Yeah, so that'll be your low blood sugar. What you do there is start adding more fatty foods. My book on, I don't know that you don't. Are you overweight, Mike?
No, I'm about 6'1". I weigh a little over 200 pounds.
Okay. Yeah, I have a weight loss book, and I'm not saying you have to lose weight, but it's the ketogenic diet, and it talks about if you can get more fat in your diet, then it can help you with sugar cravings. But the other thing is, you know, you pretty much have to bite the bullet for a week or so to get the yeast starved enough that they don't demand you to eat sugar. You just do some more reading, and Mike, even call up customer service and talk to someone. You know, Doug is out on the West Coast, or you know, we've got 6-7 people who will sit on the phone and talk you through this, so you can understand it some more. Because I mean, you've been put through the ringer. The acid blockers, they just strip away your magnesium, and the sinus infections. The Mayo Clinic says that 97% of sinus infections are yeast, fungus. So you've been kind of over-medicated for the wrong things. So, but you know, you're on the right track. You start with the magnesium. You see the benefits, and now you're ready to go the next step.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
So you'll phone customer service. Right? You promise me?
Yes, I will. I will follow up with them so they can kind of walk me through it, and I'll definitely try your products. Also, one more quick question. My vitamin D was also slightly low, but I was reading that I need to take care of my magnesium first, correct, before I worry about supplementing vitamin D.
That's right, Mike. And the number, do you recall the number that they gave you on it?
It was the I think the old 25 test, but it was my level was 31.
Well, in my world, 30, 40 is normal.
Okay.
And if you add you keep doing the magnesium, it'll improve on its own. But where we work with vitamin D is we use the blue ice royal. You probably read about it. That's a fermented cod liver oil rather than doing a synthetic it comes from sheep lanolin, the vitamin D3 they use. So, yeah, I would say personally I wouldn't be taking vitamin D if I had a 30. Or like I do personally, I take 2 blue ice royal capsules a day. And for me, that I believe that's sufficient.
Okay.
Okie doke.
All right. Thanks again now.
Okay, Mike. Thanks for calling in. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, very good. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. We do have other callers on the line, Carolyn, but we're just a few seconds from the top of the hour. So let's take this brief break, and then we'll go back to our phone calls in hour 2. You're listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com.
We'll be back with hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
You can climb floors and then worlds show up. You can go downstairs and worlds disappear. You can go downstairs up on the rooftop and you open the door and take a step and you go, I'm on the rooftop. Wait a minute, I better pay attention. So that becomes a fun thing. So that's why we have to come back and say this, relax and allow, soften it up, get your foot off the gas, don't slam on the brakes, just let it coast where you want it to go. Soften, be easy about all this, and stop making a great big huge thing out of great big nothingnesses, because the nothingnesses are serving you very well. You like this blissful place of not caring, because now you care so much about everything that you've got yourself in a position where you don't really care about anything. Good. It's wonderful. Thank you. We are happily, easily ready for more and more in your experience.
achieveradio.com.
Here we go now. Come to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Come to the Carolyn. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Hour 2, Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. We've got callers waiting and mailbag letters stacked up, and Dr. Dean sitting here all ready to go. Anything you want to tie over from the first hour, Carolyn, before we go on?
No, all is well. I just got my shipment of restructuring Pico Silver. Thank you very much, Ginny.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, excellent. Well, then that means we can press on with the important phone calls of the evening. So let's go out to 303, the great state of Colorado. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean, area code 303. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Jenny Regan.
Hi, Jenny.
And hi. Thank you very much. I started your magnesium I just happened to pick up the book in the library, and it has been making so much sense to me. And it seems like I have like 6 different things that it can help me with. And I've listened to your book almost twice already. And I have a few questions, and this may not be the evening as a time slot to do, because primarily you're talking about anxiety.
Oh, it's okay. No. Anything you want to ask about, Ginny, go ahead.
Okay, well, one of the things that you talk about is tea not being good for you, black tea or green tea. And one of the things that's hot out there now is kombucha tea. And I wondered what you thought of that.
I like the taste of it myself. It's a mold. It's a mushroomy, moldy thing, and if it's not made properly, it can be contaminated. So I don't know what to think of it. I think when you buy it commercially, they probably have to pasteurize it, which means they kill any of the goodness out of it. It is made with a lot of sugar and tea. I don't know how much sugar is in the final product. I don't see that on the label. They say that B vitamins are somehow stimulated in the process. So it's like a fad drink. I don't think it is necessary a healing drink. So with all the possible negatives about it, I tend to stay away from it.
Okay, that's really understandable. Well, and for the other things, like I said, I have about 3 things that I'm fighting with, kind of, or been subjected to, or as you get older, you have a number of things. But for the most part, I'm healthy. But I figured that I would just stay on the magnesium. I haven't started Remite yet, but I plan to order that and probably need to do some yeasting, so I've had to take a few antibiotics. But since reading your book, I've tried to eliminate aluminum from my diet and fluoride because, according to what you have to say. But one thing I really wanted to ask about was for my husband. He's been diagnosed with OPLL, ossification of the posterior longitudinal ligament, which it sounds like the magnesium and everything could even help that.
Right. When you have any calcification of anything, then it implies that the calcium went to the wrong place. Calcium is supposed to go to bones and teeth. If it's not circulating in the blood, it's not supposed to precipitate in soft tissues. So any, as you say, ossification, it's going to be related to magnesium deficiency. Now, what you can work with there is Remag lotion, rubbing it into the area, and as well as saturating with oral magnesium. But this condition, OPLL, I never learned about in medical school. It's like what they're doing now is every organ in the body that's starting to get calcified because of our overcalcification in our diet and taking calcium supplements and lack of magnesium, they're going to name another couple hundred new diseases related to calcification. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to what you said, Ginny, about as you get older. We don't believe in getting older, aging, or that you have to suffer anything as you transition from year to year. I actually feel so much healthier than I did when I was in my 30s and 40s, because when I was younger, I had magnesium deficiency untreated. So I was going around, like tense and with insomnia and heart palpitations and on and on. So you don't if you can sort of put that aside in your mind, so you're not like a lot of people that just say, well, I guess I have to put up with this, I'm getting older. You'll see as you're taking the Remag and Remite, and hopefully you'll get to the other products, and that's, that may be absolutely all you need, then you'll see as time passes, you will be feeling better and better.
Well, and I do already feel better. I think one thing earlier in the radio program, you said something about calcium for that sometimes you are recommended calcium for knee stiffness.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I was on a lot of calcium and no magnesium, and I think that it caused my knees to be stiff because of not having the proper magnesium.
Right, and that is quite possible, too. That's why when I really went on my magnesium saturation program, when I finally got REMAG, I did not take any calcium for a couple of years, and I felt fine. All my joints felt fine, no problems. But, yes, that can definitely happen. And who knows why? Different areas for different people can get calcified.
Yes.
My case, my calcification is in my poor ears. I have autosclerosis, which is calcification of my stirrup anvil stapes in my ears, causing deafness. So everybody has something different. It is quite amazing. So it makes it difficult to diagnose. And doctors, because they never learned about minerals, they will never diagnose what we're talking about.
Right, or it's really difficult to get them to even listen to you. Mm-hmm. You really just have to, like you said, be your own advocate and read and understand. And when we have someone like you that has studied both and treated both, it's just, it just makes it so much more simple rather than trying to treat yourself and not knowing what you're doing. You mentioned ears. I was diagnosed with either middle ear disorder or Meniere's disease. And at first it was just a deafness or a muffling in my ear, but then I went off the diuretic thinking, I think I'm better and I hate to be on this diuretic. And then I got the Meniere symptoms. And so until I'm on your REMAG and the Remite for probably a good 6 months or a year, I'm afraid to go off of the diuretic because it does seem to keep the Meniere symptoms in check.
Oh, yes. You'll read, we never tell people to go off their medications because, you just want to start something new with the supplements and know that that's what's causing a shift. If you stop meds and take new things at the same time, you don't know what's working or what's not working. So, yes, keep taking it and don't worry about it.
Well, but I think some of your symptoms, you don't have symptoms. You're just taking, like I'm taking an asthma medication and I don't have any symptoms. But the doctor said, keep taking them because it'll keep your asthma from getting worse.
No. Well, if you do get my Magnesium Miracle book, the section on asthma talks about the magnesium deficiency aspect of asthma. And unfortunately, doctors have gotten to the point where they've forgotten our mandate of first do no harm. We were supposed to just learn how to give drugs for short term only until the body was able to take care of itself. But now to use drugs as, as a prevention, it's really not the definition of prevention. It's actually causing side effects. I mean, some of these asthma medications have fluoride in them and cause magnesium deficiency.
Right. That's what I was reading, because I did read about how it does relax the muscles around your lungs to help, for asthma. So I have one other question, and it has to do with anxiety. My daughter-in-law told me this weekend she planned to go back on some anxiety medication. And I told her about your book, but it's hard to convince people. And until you read it, or how do you get someone to listen?
Yeah.
Well,
in the beginning, people do say that they have a problem with that, but you can't force anyone. You just have to. What I tell
put it
people,
out there.
You just have to put it out there and be ready to say, you know, if your daughter-in-law says, oh, you know, I'm not sleeping well. Oh, you know, I read that's a magnesium deficiency, and then just that's it. That's all you say. And then when she says, oh, my legs are getting crampy, oh, yeah, that's a magnesium deficiency. And you just keep putting that out there, layering the onion, so to speak, and she'll finally start tripping over magnesium and make her own decision.
Well, thank you very much. I'm up to 2 teaspoons a day, and I'm sipping it all day long. And so pretty soon I'll go up to 3. And thank you. I'm going to get the other products too, because I really do see results. You know, one of the other. I don't know if you want me to keep talking, but one of the other things that I noticed just since I've been taking it is that I used to get these. When I just bump my hand, I would get this blood looking. It didn't hurt, but and it's not a bruise. It's just a lot of people refer to old ladies' bruises, and I've referred to it that way myself. But I whacked my hand a good one, and I got that one of those bruises, but it wasn't as dark, and it went away in 4 days.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
It was for you.
So it says, I think just chemically, I'm just kind of, I'm just really needing all the minerals that you are teaching about. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're so welcome, and thank you for taking the time to call in. I really appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome, and I'll be listening some more and reading some more, and I will call into customer service and get some more information and order some stuff. So thank you.
Okay, Ginny, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, all righty. Bye-bye.
Ginny.
Yes, excellent caller.
Why don't you give Ginny, the other Ginny, a yay?
Yes, I believe so. I believe so. Here we go. Yeah, very sweet, and I love her question. How do you get people to listen? That's the $1 million question. But that was just so sweet, so sweet.
That's human psychology. There's something funny goes on between friends.
And relatives.
Yeah.
But really, Ginny and I were talking about this when Ginny was over here for her half-moon honeymoon.
Ginny was over here? Amazing.
That we have people now who are telling everybody and being listened to.
Yeah.
They really, it's getting through, and I don't know if it's the timing or people have been on it for years and they
know how to speak it better.
They speak it better, or they show. They show how good they're feeling. They're jumping around, and seriously, people can. You just layer it. Every time a symptom comes up with a friend or else, oh, that sounds like magnesium.
Yeah, I had that. You say, I had that. Buy a rebag, fix that.
Or, I mean, that's more like telling them to do something. I'm just saying, say, it's magnesium. Oh, that sounds like magnesium deficiency.
Yeah, don't say anything.
Don't say anything else, because as soon as you try to tell someone to do something, I mean, you know that, Bob. You can't tell me to do anything.
Yeah, she's very bad, Jenny. Never learned nothing from me. But I also say, don't worry about people being angry at you. Tell them anyways. Don't be worried or thin-skinned about, people won't like me because I'm irritating them. You're actually telling something worthwhile, the most important thing in their life, so be energetic about it.
So that's Bob's philosophy.
Yes.
Hey, Bob, you're not supposed to be on my show. What's going on?
It's not your show.
Well.
It's a collective universal requirement, Carolyn, that you're on the air.
Turn yourself off, Bob. You got
to get a little more humble.
You make no sense.
She's got to tell people.
Oh, I know.
Tell her to be more humble.
I was even yelling at a waiter yesterday after I gave my rant to the father of a friend of mine. I just turned on the waiter. It was very interesting. I get real power hungry.
Yeah, because you got excited that it worked on the father.
Yeah. So mute yourself. Over to you, Ginny.
Okay, excellent. Very good. All right, we have a couple gals on the chat line who are chatting me up and you up, Carolyn, about different things that they're struggling with. One of them is Joan, who wants to know about eosinophilus, eosinophilus, eosinophilus.
Eosinophils.
Yeah, eosinophilus. Very good. There's the doctor coming through. And she's got this and that going on, no allergies. She doesn't know what's going on. Then we've got Nancy, who's not having her period and this and that, and wants to know what you think. And for Joan and Nancy, what I'm going to do is ask you to call in and talk to Dr. Dean, if at all possible, because these are things where when you talk to Carolyn, it really makes a difference, and she needs to get some information from you, and it's just awkward to go back and forth on the chat trying to pull that all down. So call into the show at 602-666-6027. That's 602-666-6027, and I'll type it into the chat line for you. And if you can't call into the show for some reason, just email this to customer service, and we'll follow up after the show with you, okay? So the next question is from Marv, who says, hello, Dr. Dean and Ginny. I missed your show last week. Tonight, Dr. Dean is speaking to me, and I promise I'm listening very extensively. I feel as if I am crawling out of my skin. All the symptoms she describes as me. My thyroid is okay, as told to me by my doctor, through all the tests. Impending doom, that's me. I'm sick and tired of telling the same story over, the same things over and over to my doctor. I refuse to take anything given to me by my doctor. Several things came to my mind before I started listening to Dr. Dean today of what's going on. I'm so lost with this horrible feeling from head to toe. I'm still taking my Remag, Remite, Realign, and my protein shake. Marv. So what words of encouragement do we have today?
Okay, so is Marv male or female? And at what age? And those basic things.
Okay,
and how
let's
much
get
Remag, Remite. So, yeah, it's one of these things where, we can't just look at those symptoms and use the products as drugs. We have to know where they fit in terms of deficiencies and how to support you. But yeah, we can work with this. The crawling out of the skin. It's like the nerve endings are so irritated and sensitive, and it does tend to be magnesium deficiency. We would tell people to be using Epsom salt baths and Remag lotion, but it may be just the dose that we have to adjust.
Very good, very good. Carrie types in, Carolyn, Carrie says, my bone scan this year went from osteopenia to osteoporosis. My MD is recommending Prolia. What is your opinion? I'm 65, and I've been taking Remag, Remite, and Recalcia for almost a year. Now, I do have a lot more energy. Thank you for your opinion about Prolia.
Yeah, Prolia, I'll look it up. It's is that an injectable? It's for bone. I know the Fosamax, and it is a human. It's monoclonal antibody for the treatment of osteoporosis. It's contraindicated in people with low blood calcium levels. That's interesting. The most common side effects are joint and muscle pain in the arms or legs. That's interesting. It prevents, so it's like a Fosamax. It prevents the development of osteoclasts, which are cells that break down bone. So this is a drug that builds up calcium or bone in the body because it stops the body from breaking it down. You've got osteoblasts that make bone and osteoclasts that, quote, break down bone. but it's not breaking down bone and kicking it out of your body. It's remodeling bone and making the bone be in the right structure and conformation. So when you kill the osteoclasts, you subject your body to the osteoblast making of bone, but it's put down erratically. The bone becomes brittle. It breaks faster. You have more fractures when you're on these types of drugs. I don't know about, they keep adding new drugs so that you can't keep track of them, but the precursor to the Prolia is Fosamax, and dentists won't even work on the jaws of people who are on Fosamax because the jawbone is so brittle. So it's not pretty. And the thing about the whole osteoporosis bone scan business is it appears that they're doing bone scans and comparing us, 60 or plus year old people to a 30-year-old bone. So it's always going to look kind of thin, and yes, it sounds like it's either worsened or they've changed the criteria because, they keep changing the criteria of these conditions, so you'll be forced to take the drugs. And the thing about the osteoporosis is to get enough exercise in, bone stimulating exercise. Just anything will help stimulate the bones. When the astronauts went into space, they developed muscle atrophy and osteoporosis because there was no gravity pulling against their bones. So you have to get your muscles stronger and keep taking your products. You may have to add the Recalcia. I would be adding Recalcia, and make sure you're getting your 2 to 3 teaspoons of Remag. We definitely have individuals who tell us that their bone density improves on the protocol, but it's whether or not you're taking therapeutic amounts. So that's
she is taking Recalcia, Carolyn. She didn't say how much, but the therapeutic amounts are going to be 2 to 3 teaspoons of Remag, right? And then 1.5 to 2 of Remite, right?
Right. And depending on diet, 1 to 2 of Recalcia. But it's the exercise that's very important at this stage to just redistribute the circulation and the calcium, and then you'd look at your vitamin D as well, but using the Blue Ice Royal. It's just a test that gives you an indication that you just need a little more support to get your bones back. But do all that, call customer service if you need more information, and then keep us posted when you get your next bone density test next year. I'm sure it'll be better, but you can look up yourself. The words I read about Prolia are just on Wikipedia.
Okay, very good. Excellent. I sometimes when we get these bone questions, Carolyn, it reminds me of several years ago, before we had the Remag and everything, and which is hard to remember, but we did have the RNA drops, and people were having extraordinary results on the drops. And one of them was Deb Morse, who had to, she was taking the drops for a year or two, and she had to have a hip surgery, and the doctor told her that she had the bones of a 21-year-old, and she's like 55. And I remember at the time, and he said they were pearl white. And I remember at the time thinking, well, yeah, everybody's bones are pearl white. And then a couple years later, seeing that video from Dr. Lustig about how eating too much sugar actually cooks your bones. So it's going to be interesting to find out what the correlation, if they ever discover it, between this osteoporosis and all this sugar intake is, because it's cooking people's bones, and it's really keeping them from being able to flourish. And conversely, the RNA drops have our super sugar in them, which is actually biologically compatible with the DNA and the RNA. And it looks like what that does, is it makes pearl white bones. So that's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, thanks for reminding me about RNA drops. I don't talk about them enough. And yes, just Googling sugar in bones, there are sources here that are saying too much sugar tends to deplete levels of other minerals, which we know, and increases the fracture rate. So, yeah, there's so much that is bad for us about sugar, and we've been denied that information for decades.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate. But definitely on the right track, Carrie. Definitely on the right track. Okay, Nancy has called in. Thanks, Nancy, for giving me the heads up. And let me put her on the phone with you, Carolyn. She's got some questions for you. Area code 717. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Nancy. Welcome.
Hi, Carolyn, Dr. Carolyn. I'm 55. 4 months have gone by since I haven't had a period. I'm due to have a physical tomorrow, and I want to know what test I might ask for. And I know you recommend different foods, but I have histamine issues, so there's a bunch of foods I can't even eat, which I do anyway. But like you said, about towards the end of April, my knee started hurting. The OBGYN said, it has nothing to do with perimenopause. So I Googled it like the following week, and it said it could be due to perimenopause. So I'm confused with so much health, what to eat, what not to eat. I have hypothyroid. The ringing in my ears is just crazy. I'm sensitive to foods, to any overly stressed or heat. So I don't know if there's tests I should ask the doctor tomorrow. I know they're not. They're not too keen when you ask, why do you want to have that then? That's going to cost you money. And
Right. Okay, Nancy, you're 55. How have you managed to keep your periods all these years? I lost mine when I was 45.
I don't know. I hear people say that, but I don't know. I would go 2 months at the most. Now I think this could be in for the stretch because I'm starting to have some hot flashes, I guess. Like I don't, I've gained a lot of weight in the past 9 months.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if it was a blog or just a really nice email from a customer who said that of her 12 perimenopausal symptoms, 9 of them were helped by taking the Remag. So a lot of it can be sort of mineral deficiencies when you talk about being, so stressed out. And when you first started to talk, you do sound stressed. I can hear that in the frequency of your voice. So I know you're suffering and you don't know what to do. But are you doing any of our products yet, Nancy?
I got the liquid, and because I'm sensitive, I was leery about doing it, and so I got the lotion, and I do that, maybe not on a regular basis. I know it's kind of costly, so, but like today I did rub it on my legs and arms, my knees, but I don't know. And you talked about salt, and I have real salt. It seems like when I drank a little bit of that with water, because I drink a lot of water to begin with. I mean, I don't do coffee or teas or milk, and the ringing in my ears just goes off.
Did the salt help in the water, are you saying?
No, I don't think it just, the ringing in my ears, it's a lot. So good things that are healthy for me, for one reason or another, I can't eat or don't eat, and then I kind of eat what's not healthy. because just so many things. Years ago, I had hives for like 6 months straight, practically. Went to a.
Are you still there?
As well, Synthroid or level, whatever the.
I lost you for a minute there. Are you saying that you're on Synthroid for your thyroid, Nancy?
Yeah, I have been since I was like 37 or 38. And I'm also on Cytomel, but I had hives, and the doctor did some testing, so that's who got me on Cytomel as well. And then I was kind of, I guess back then, before this keto diet became popular, I guess I was pretty much on that because I lost a lot of weight. I was off all processed, all dairy, sugar, and now I'm having a hard time doing all that. But even the good foods, like I have a perforated nose that they don't know why I have that. The ENT has no idea. The rheumatologist doesn't know. They wanted to test me for lupus a couple years ago because my ANA was low, but I don't have symptoms. And I said, well, why do I have this perforated nose? She said, well, something may have attacked your immune system and then stopped. And I said, well, why should I bother to come in every 3 months because I don't have anything else? And she says, well, don't bother, but the door's open. But I'm not claiming that. And I'm just chemical sensitive the last few years, which I've never done chemicals. I don't do the fluoride anymore.
Right.
And I just feel like my body's whacked out.
Yeah, well, you know what we call it, Nancy, is total body meltdown. Right? So, and being able to name it, we know we can do something about it. I mean, it does sound overwhelming, the words coming out of your mouth. I know it must be very depressing and frustrating. But what we do know is if we go slowly but consistently, the Remag lotion, if you read what we talk about, like the first book would be the Reset the Yeast Connection, because the autoimmune diseases start with yeast overgrowth. And when you get something like that happening in your nose, it can be a fungus, and it can be, the immune system kind of attacking the fungus and then cross-reacting and attacking your mucous membrane. So the first thing is to read the yeast book. I don't know if you can take our Restructure, but Ginny, will you send Nancy a few packages of Restructure so she can try it? Because you've got to have a food that you can grab so that you don't, grab things that you shouldn't eat. Because as soon as you eat those, it's like you feel guilt because you're eating them, and then you have a reaction. So we've got to get you some safe foods, and then slowly building up your Remag as the lotion, or you can add Epsom salt baths and slowly start taking the oral Remag liquid, and then build up to the Remite minerals. Because to get your minerals for your thyroid, for example, you need 9 minerals for the thyroid, and you may be deficient in most of those. So does that sound like a bit of a plan to start with yeast and start with the Remag?
Yeah, like I said, just because I'm more sensitive to any drugs, like when I started thyroid, I didn't know that you could gain weight, and I gained a lot of weight before. I was like, I'm more of a sportsy type person, so it's just with the heat, just everything. It just seems like these hormones maybe are set off in the past few months because I'm very sensitive to, I always was to heat, but like it just it is overwhelming. They don't know why this hole is in my nose. I've never done like cocaine or I'm not a druggie.
So I'm saying I agree with them about the autoimmune. I'm saying the autoimmune is triggered by yeast overgrowth, and there are 178 different byproducts produced by yeast in their life cycle in our bodies, and some of them cross-react with mucous membrane tissue. So then the immune system is attacking the yeast on your mucous membranes and creates this irritation, and to the point of creating this I'm assuming it's a hole on between your what's it called? Just between your two nostrils.
Yeah, like.
So that's where it will be. So you got to, do a little research by reading the yeast book. Listening some more to what I'm talking about, calling into customer service, seeing how slow you can go, because some people, they'll start the Remag liquid at just a few drops in water. And if you can't take the sea salted water, then we'll have to, deal with that, maybe put some extra sea salt on your food. So let's just start slowly, okay? But when you listen to some of our archives or read some of the information, hopefully you'll get a sense that there is hope for dealing with a lot of these problems. Okay?
Yeah, I'm just confused because with hypothyroid, you hear about don't eat certain foods, and every healthy food that has histamine
we don't worry
in.
about that. Yeah, we don't worry about that at this point. Like we say with drugs, or if someone's on a lot of other supplements or whatever their diet is, we just say leave everything as it is and start the minerals, and just keep everything else the same, so that you know what the minerals are doing. Don't bounce around doing a whole bunch of different things, but just start with the minerals. Like I said, it could be 9 out of 10 of your menopausal symptoms are related to magnesium deficiency. So you want to work on that first. Okay?
Okay, and I have a question. If I call in, what are the hours?
Ginny, what are our hours for customer service?
Yeah, somebody's available to talk to you between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. And every single one of our people is very knowledgeable. And if you want to call and ask to talk to me, Ginny, because I heard you on the radio and I know what you've got going on, then just call and ask to talk to Ginny. And I won't answer the phone, but they'll get me a message and I'll call you back usually within the hour. And you'll have to call me anyway, because I need your delivery address and everything, and I'm not going to take that over the radio because Dr. D wants to send you some free products. So call, ask for me, leave your phone number, I'll call you back, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We have a saying, it's kind of trite, but it's like the worst is over. And, if you can just sort of think in terms of that, look, you've had all these horrible things. There may be something that we can do to help you. So just think of it as being the worst is over. Okay, Nancy?
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, hon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, excellent. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. Thanks for calling in. We do have other callers holding, and I see you. I just want to follow up while the topic is fresh for Marv Carolyn and say that she typed in, and she says, Dr. Dean wants to know my age. 4 days ago, I turned 62 years young. My only prescription I take is Atenol, Atenol, 2 per day. After taking the Remag down to a 1/4 teaspoon per day, according to my doctor. Also, I take blue ice royal fermented cod liver oil 2 per day. Is there a multivitamin I should be taking along with these? But Marv, you did say that you took Remite and Realign as well. Yeah, you said Remag, Remite, and Realign. So let me know what you're doing with those, the Remite and the Realign. Okay.
Yeah, and atenolol, that's a beta blocker, so that there's something about blood pressure going on with her. So, yeah, there are side effects from beta blockers. I remember doing a blog about a UK study that they did this big push in the UK to put everybody who was undergoing surgery, put them on a beta blocker before and after the surgery to try to keep the heart rate under control, and they had a lot of side effects. It became a study where people without blood pressure were put on this blood pressure drug, and it does cause a lot of very serious side effects. So I'm not keen on beta blockers, and maybe this is something that Marv will have to write the Tier 2 answers for us so that we know enough about the situation. Like you said, Ginny, to write into customer service. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay, Marv. So, and again, you can hold on just 1 second, please. Sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat. You can call into customer service at 888-577-3703 and leave a message for me, and I will call you back and get your information, and we'll continue this conversation with Dr. Dean.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, very good. All right, let's go continue on our phone calls here this evening, and we're going down to, we're going up to New York. Area code 347, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Good evening, Dr. Dean. This is Joan Sewall. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for calling
Good. Oh, thank you for being there for us to call in, too. Dr. Dean, I've noticed my A1CL creeping up within the last 3 years. The last time I took it, it was like a 6.2, but it's now it's now down to a 6.0, so that's kind of good. So anyway, so I did some blood work, and one of the things that was out of range was my esophageals and
eosinophils.
Eosinophils.
Eosinophils, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Eosinophils. So I'm an eosinophilic. And so I'm doing a DO instead of a regular MD, so I feel more comfortable with him, and I trust him more than a regular MD. And so what he wants to do is to do an allergy test, because I don't have any symptoms of any sort, but not knowing with an elevated anyways, with that elevation, there's something that's not, my body's kind of reacting to. And so I kind of just wanted to...
Hang on. Stop. We call them EOs, so just call them EOs.
EOs, good.
What were your numbers? What were your numbers?
It was 8.0.
And normal is like 0 to 2?
No, sorry. 9. It's 9.0, and the range that they have is 8.1 is the high range, and I'm 9.0.
Oh, well, that's hardly anything.
Yeah, but he kind of thought I should do the allergy test, which I have scheduled for tomorrow, to see if we can figure out what's causing it.
Well, what you do, Joan, is you repeat the test. And before you repeat the test, you take some vitamin C with bioflavonoids, you drink a lot of water, sea salt water, you take magnesium, but you make sure you don't go in dehydrated. And what time of year is it? It's June. It's allergy season. Maybe your body's just reacting a little bit to the spring. I mean, allergy testing is it's a big deal. It's either is it blood testing or skin testing.
It sounded like, because that was my attitude too, is really, allergy tests, because what I've heard from him that they're not fun to do. And so it sounded like there were going to be skin tests that they were going to perform. So.
Right. No, I mean personally, I would pass for a while and just redo the blood test and look at the eosinophils. Like I said, if you're hydrated, if you have some vitamin C and magnesium on board, if you're doing Remag and Remite, take extra. But, that's not at all anything to be concerned about, and especially if you don't have any allergy symptoms. What we used to find in New York when we were doing the AIDS and chronic fatigue studies is people would get drastically elevated eosinophils if they had parasites, which was interesting. But there's nothing drastic going on there.
Okay. And there's also there's a herb called Deem that's like that's not neem, right?
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I've started to take that to see if that along with my Remeg, Remite, and all of that. And so I'll continue to take that, and then just like you say, get retested.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I didn't want to do that anyways. Can I ask one other thing? Is when I do my blood work, I look at it a lot of different things. But I did a CRP.
Oh yeah.
And last time I took it, which was like in December, it was like 2.52, and now it's at 2.62. And I know that's basically like it's basically like looking at what your immune
inflammation.
Inflammation, right?
Inflammation. Yeah.
Right.
No, you're getting too hooked on blood tests. It doesn't. There's a 10% difference. If you took your blood today and tested it today, same blood, tested tomorrow, it would be different by 10%. I mean, you cannot get too focused on these blood tests. That's what I'm telling you.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, and like I said initially, the only reason I went that way, because I kind of know how you feel about this whole thing about blood tests, but the only reason I did that was to see where my A1CL was, and then you get all. Yeah.
Well, with your A1C, what are your thoughts on doing the ketogenic diet to eliminate sugars, eliminate carbs, so that you keep your insulin from doing all the things that it does to make your blood sugar high in the blood?
Well, I attempted that like maybe 3 months ago, and I noticed without the carbs, it's like I had no energy. It was like I felt really weak without the carbs, and so I've kind of added the sugar back, and I've kind of added the. And the thing that I didn't do before is I've added the milk products. I used to didn't do milk products at all. It was like no dairy, and now I've gone to. I love cheese.
Yeah, right.
Because of the high fat content. When I was trying the keto, I get all of that fat from cheese, and so I kind of got hooked on it. But yeah, I will try again. I'll try the keto again.
Yeah, you gotta really if you're concerned about anything, it would be about the blood sugar and the hemoglobin A1C. So, Joan, you should really get Dr. Jason Fung's book, The Diabetes Code. He's really, oh man, to read him, it's like he's a poet, and he gives such good information about the way diabetes is formed, and it's all to do with sugars. We really have to break that addiction. Okay?
Can you spell the last name for me again, please?
F is in Frank, U-N-G.
Okay.
Fung.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the nephrologist up in Toronto. He's my new best friend.
Oh, okay. I think you had mentioned him before, and I think I did start reading some things on him. But yeah, I'll get his books up. Okay.
Okay, Joan.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Joan. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Excellent. And do you have time for one more call?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, area code 916, the great state of California. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Is it for Joanne Piazza in California? Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
Joanne.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Dean. Well, I am fighting ciprotoxicity, unfortunately, for almost 2 years, and I've have been taking Remag for maybe about a year and thinking of going to the total body reset. I have two questions about that, and also wanted to mention that I listened to another program that you did where it turns out that several medications have fluoride in them, Flonase being one of them, which I take. And also I found out on the Internet that Celebrex, which I also take, has fluoride in it. So I'm now attempting to cut out both of those medications. My question is on if I went to the total body reset. I understand in ciprotoxicity that calcium has gone into the tendons, and I'm concerned about taking any calcium, if you could address that. And also on the...
Let me answer that, and you hold the other one so we stay focused. Recalcia is not in the total body reset protocol.
Right.
So
it's a separate thing.
It's separate. And that
right, I understand that.
Yeah, okay. So then you
But what is your thought about, getting calcium back in my body when what I've read was to get that the calcium out of your tendon cells.
Well, that's where the magnesium comes in, Joanne.
And I am doing that.
Right. So the magnesium will make your calcium in soft tissue areas more soluble and take it out of the soft tissues. I mean, we're even having people who give us before and after carotid artery scans where their calcified carotid arteries are diminishing. So we know that that's happening. And then that calcium that's dissolving out of the soft tissues, the magnesium, and then if you take the Blue Ice Royal with the vitamin D and vitamin K2, they'll all direct that calcium into your bones. So it's a redistribution in the first even year. And then after that, if a person isn't eating enough calcium in their diet, I recommend 600 milligrams, then that's when you would start with the Recalcia.
Okay. Yeah, and as you said, due to the, the earth and being depleted of minerals, I'm not quite sure how much calcium I'm getting in my food. The other thing is I am also, it sounds like you're recommending that I would utilize calcium as long as I'm also doing the magnesium.
Correct. So how much Remag are you up to now, Joanne?
I was up to 2 teaspoons, and I went down to 1, but I'm wondering what you would recommend.
Well, if I had ciprotoxicity, you can't equate it to heart palpitations. I mean, there's two different worlds, but I was taking 4 teaspoons so that I could get saturated as soon as I could to get rid of those symptoms. So 1 and 2 teaspoons really are not going to saturate a person.
Not sufficient. Okay.
No.
Well, I can definitely up that. And I am vegan pretty much, although I've added some eggs in. But and I know how you feel about your protein powder. It has, I think, casein in it.
No.
No, or some milk product.
Casein. It doesn't have casein. It does not have any casein. What it does is have a little pinch of lactose. It's a whey protein, but no, fortunately, it doesn't have any casein protein in it.
Okay. So you think for vegan this would be applicable? It has a very small amount.
Right, and we're sending some packets to one of our other callers, so I'll get Ginny to get your address. We'll send you a couple packets so you can try it.
Just to try it out.
Take it. Sure. Yeah,
that would be great.
Individual packets before you commit to buying a whole bottle, because mean, so many of our customers are sensitive. We thought we really needed to do that for them, because I'm not that keen on vegan vegetarianism. I think people really do need protein to heal from stuff. Yeah, and we have one more minute, Joanne. So I am going to rush you.
Okay. Well, is that a surprise to hear that Celebrex or Saloxicam, whatever, also has fluoride?
I have those all in my PowerPoints. I have all of those. All you do, Joanne, is type the name into the Google, put Celebrex Wiki. And there you go with its silly little formula with 3 fluorides.
3 fluorides.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That was very disheartening.
Yeah, Cipro only has 1 fluoride. Okay, we're done.
Okay, thank you so much.
It up, but listen, call customer service tomorrow. Leave a message for Ginny, and I will call you back, okay?
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Okay,
you're welcome.
Joanne,
excellent show. Thank you. Thank you, Joanne, for calling, and great calls. Great show, Carolyn. Great information. And once again, the only doctor I know that's going to sit on the phone for 2 hours and hold people's hands while they recover from the total body meltdown that has been precipitated by bad nutrition and crappy drugs. I mean, congratulations to you once again. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you,
Ginny.
Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, listeners and customers. We love you. Yay!
Until next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.
Well, it's marvelous, you see, as coming into your knowingness of the power that you actually have. As human beings, you can be, do, or have anything. And if you can get humans to come to the spark that activates the non-physical part that's already within them, they know. Then they know. Then it takes all the mysterium out of it. And then you can come into your power, your